we've created something that hasn't been available before. The most powerful peptide in the brain. We've shown the ability to reverse mild and moderate cognitive decline to normal conduction in an hour or less. A good brain can become a high-powered to a super-powered brain. And then I also work with a system of ancient tones and tone patterns called the pineal tones, and we recreate ancient choirs that haven't been done for thousands of years. We did a number of experiments and showed that a group of 300 people singing these ancient tones showed that people singing together in this way dramatically enhanced the coherence of the room. With more coherence, people are happier, healthier, more cooperative, and of higher awareness. Just that 3-day musical frequency experience could accelerate a brain from being a middle-aged brain to a 20-year-old superpowered brain. There's some beautiful scientifically proven benefits of the simple act of humming. Just humming actually relaxes your brain, lowers stress cortisol levels, improves vagal tone, enhances the immune system, even increases nitric oxide. That can create powerful effects, creating profound enhancements of states of awareness, including faster brains.
Dr. Todd, hello and welcome to the TCCHE podcast.
Well, pleasure being here with you this morning.
And one of the questions I'm going to kind of start off with, because we will have people who know all about the fantastic TCCHE, the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution. They then would have seen you speak, but we will also have listeners who have never met you before. So if you were to describe to people who haven't yet come across your work, who is Dr. Todd Ovokaitys, what would you say?
What a simple question. So from the technical side, I'm a Johns Hopkins and Georgetown trained internist, pulmonologist, intensivist. But I pursued a passion for biophysics. What I do is advanced laser technology that, among other things, is a way to literally sing the song of the stem cells to awaken them and direct them where to go in the body for profound regenerative effects, even biological age reversal effects. And then I also work with a system of ancient tones and tone patterns called the pineal tones, and we recreate ancient choirs that haven't been done for thousands of years, which also create profound enhancements of states of awareness, but we've proven significant biological benefits as well, including faster brains.
And talking of faster brains, I love anything to do with the mind, the brain, the learning. I'm a photo reading instructor, and you had a little something in your pocket when we started. So do you want to say a little bit about what that was and what you told us earlier?
Sure. Well, in collaboration with a peptide prodigy, we've created something that hasn't been available before. And the most powerful peptide in the brain, actually in its full sense, it's an attack protein. The formula or chemistry called BDNF, a brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is the main stimulus to create new nerves and new nerve connections, basically to make the brain younger and smarter. But it's been incredibly expensive, but we found a way to make it available, make it bioactive, and allow it to cross the blood-brain barrier, at least from the effects that we see. And we have proven with quantitative objective conduction velocity testing of the brain that whether it's taken more medically as an injection, where we use it with stem cells, we've shown the ability to reverse mild and moderate cognitive decline to normal conduction in an hour or less. A good brain can become a high-powered to a super-powered brain. And the further innovation is a way to package it in a way that it's oral, which is the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And people can get it by lifting heavy weights or doing a 3-day fast. But now we can actually amplify it by giving the real thing. And now we have it available orally, but we have gone a step further and combined it with 4 other peptides that boost the brain: C-Lang, C-Max, dihexa, and huperzine A, the latter from periwinkle, and then oxytocin to feel good, orally bioavailable NAD, and GPC as a choline source for better memory. So the whole thing is literally like a symphony for the cerebrum. Many people feel it within 10 or 15 seconds, even less. And we've shown that we can take someone conducting velocities in their brain electrically at a 40-year-old level to about a 20-year-old level, just taking it and testing again 10 minutes later.
I haven't met many people, and you may be one of these, who know exactly what they want to. I had a friend called Andy. He knew when he was 7, he wanted to fly for the RAF. And then I've got the other end of the scale, people like myself who get dragged into what they're going to do, almost kicking and screaming. In terms of what you do now, when you were growing up, do you remember what it is you wanted to do or what you wanted to be when you grew up?
When I was 5 years old, my dad asked me what I wanted to be while I was driving his Cadillac, on his lap, of course. And I said, I want to be a quantum physicist. And my dad said, well, what's wrong with being a fireman? Then when I was 8, I fell in love with lasers, and I've studied them, knew what laser meant, knew how they worked, how to make them. Then when I was 13 years old, I fell in love with DNA and realized if we understood everything about DNA, then we could potentially cure any disease and live a very long time in very young bodies if we wanted to. And those two themes have carried me through all the way ever since.
I suspected you would be one of those people who just had a clear sense of this is it, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be. And in terms of the world and the way that you see the world, this is it, because I was discussing with someone recently about the concept of good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And is it
Okay.
I know
Let's get basic.
it's a big curveball, but what you said about the quantum side of things, and the conversation was, is it a construct of the mind in terms of we will project onto something and into something, or is there really this thing called good and evil? So from your perspective, with everything you've done, the way that your brain works, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, this, of course, is going deep down the philosophical rabbit hole. So if we have as a dynamic, if you get deep into Eastern mysticism, that the whole purpose of creation is for God to answer the question, who am I? For infinite source to appreciate infinite source's attributes, that there needs to be polarities, there need to be all the opposites, there need to be, as it were, experiences of good and bad, rich and poor, all the different ways, even male and female, and the different experiences that that brings to a person. And at one level, there is apparent good and apparent evil. And it's very subjective what we call good and what we call evil. At a higher level, if we get into this whole concept of unity consciousness, which is what the TCCHE is all about, that there is no good or no evil. There simply is one unified love force field that creates everything. And it's all about a movement of awareness. At one level of awareness, good and evil seems even more black and white and dramatic. At another level, the color becomes gray. At a certain level, one just realizes that everything is divine play.
We were talking about the concept of good and evil and whether it's a real construct or a projection of people's minds. So you were saying, because it's one, of course, that you have considered. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. So there are all sorts of opinions about good and evil, even differing opinions on what is good and what is evil. And I'll take a deep dive into Eastern mysticism, where the concept that the creation was in the beginning, infinite source that was infinite everything, love, power, bliss, everything you can imagine, was so infinite, he couldn't really appreciate how infinite he, she, or it was. So the question, who am I, gave rise to, you could imagine, an infinite ocean that was all love and bliss, that they got encapsulated in bubbles. And this whole process of the creation of the opposites, the polarities, man and woman, good and evil, rich and poor, all the different things that we experience, and even all the creatures in creation. It's one giant field of consciousness, at least in this particular view, which is one that I've found most satisfying for a general frame of understanding. And in a human experience, we have a whole lot of contrast. Something seems good or something's evil. And the understanding is that when you start moving your consciousness, which is what the TCCHE is all about, at a basic level of consciousness, there's good and evil. At a higher level, it becomes gray. At the highest level, one realizes it's all one divine play. All there is a unified source of love, is the fabric of all that exists. And with that comes the infinite knowledge and power of source as well. And at the highest level of consciousness, like the great masters, there isn't good and evil anymore. It's simply one divine play.
And I love that. And the word play, I think, is also important, particularly with the type of work that you're doing and maybe even the schedule that you have, the traveling mode. What do you actually do for fun? What's your form of play?
Ooh, well, I love movies. Action, adventure, sci-fi, occasional romantic comedy. Uh, luxury theaters are my thing. You go there, you order your food, you get served while you're watching. It's a good way to spend an evening. I live near the beach, so long walks on the beach are great. And fitness is fun too. One of my favorite things is going to the gym and how you say, working on making the body fit. And then I also dance. You probably know that. So when I can, I do that too. My dad owned dance schools, so I was a professional dance instructor before I finished high school.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I've been prescribing what I call dance breaks for my clients for the last 25 years
Mhm.
because I think even just having a 2 or 3 minute dance break is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Just while we're on the subject, from your perspective then of doing that professionally, what impact does dancing and movement have on the mind and have on the brain?
There's a lot, of course. The dance experience, where you combine both the music and the physical movement, there's a lot of information about balancing the hemispheres of the brain, the so-called right-left hemispheric balance. There's the fitness attribute of it. There's getting into the rhythm of it. So the effects of music tend to be relaxation, lowering stress, lowering cortisols, improving vagal tone. We have people measuring their heart rate variability to see how well their vagus is working, whether their rest and regenerate is working better than their fight or flight mechanism. And most people could use the fight or flight turned down and the rest and regenerate turned up. So one of the best ways to relax, get out of the cares of the day is to really focus on the music and align it with the body, and especially when it's partner dance, and then you also get another level of balance and that dynamic of leading and following and creating something beautiful and dynamic in the moment.
I love that. And I know people often say, oh, but I can't dance. And I say, look, it's not about the dancing.
Hmm.
It's about everything else that comes with it. Now, if we were to then look at your playlist,
Hmm.
what might be one of the most unusual tracks we would find on your playlist?
In terms of what I listen to.
Yeah, because people sometimes they have an expectation of what they think you'll be listening to.
Hmm.
And so when I tell people that one of my favorite concerts ever was watching Tony Bennett live,
Hmm.
that is not what they expect me to say. They
Hmm.
have a different perception. So if we were looking at your playlist, what would we find that would be unusual that maybe people wouldn't expect to see?
People might expect that I'm a big fan of Carlos Santana. This is the first concert that I ever saw. My dad did a dance performance with actually not one but two dance partners, extra fancy as an exhibition to Oye Como Va. So when I was in college, I did the same. I did a performance just like he did, sort of kept it in the family. And when I do events, often on the lunch break, I'll play Latin music, typically smooth as his more latest piece, and make people do cha-cha after lunch to wake up their brains and have more fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I
Hmm.
absolutely love that. And in terms of, because I know people often watch people like yourselves, you're speaking, you're teaching, you're developing incredible new products, ideas, and bringing fusions of things together. They imagine that it's a fabulous life, and I'm sure it is.
Mm.
Are there still things that you are personally, however, working on? Maybe particular challenges, areas of your life where you want to improve?
Well, that's a huge question, not just for me, but for everyone. And there's a realm of work I do that I found to be, in a way, the missing link in the entire health system and all of medicine, which is a part that's most often overlooked, which is the psycho-emotional piece. And it's the idea that, as Dr. Bruce Lipton very well presents, that from the time we start as a fertilized egg in the womb to the time we're born to 7 years old, our brainwave states are that literally of a hypnotic suggestible state. And everything we hear, see, or experience can become a post-hypnotic suggestion that programs the rest of our lives. It can be taken further. There is one belief, one area of understanding, that it's not just our own experiences. We even inherit the unresolved conflicts, stresses, and traumas and programs of our ancestors. So for me, I do a method called biological decoding, where any condition in the body over the decades of its development, it's already been precisely defined what the unconscious, unresolved conflict is. So I do a lot of work in that area because to the degree that we unlock one of these conflicts, we liberate ourselves from unconscious blocks to do or be or become something. And the theory is that we not are doing that for ourselves only, but for our generations to follow too. We unlock it for the whole clan. So I believe in psycho-emotional medicine. I think we all have unconscious limiting beliefs and experiences. And to the degree that you're willing to, how you say, jump into the shadow side and become conscious of them and clear them, I think that's one of the ways we become more empowered, healthier, happier beings.
I love that. And what you've said there reminded me of, let's say, Carl Jung and what he would call the dark night of the soul,
Hmm.
or in kind of authentic leadership, they call it the crucible moment. Yeah, where, you're trial by fire.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to tell us anything you don't want to share, but have you had one of those dark night of the soul moments? And if so, how did you resolve it, overcome it, work through it?
Yeah, I've actually had at least three of them that were deep and dark and caused me to withdraw from everything for many months. Uh, and these are the periods of soul searching, wondering if you're really on your mission line, whether your lifetime has been worth it. And it can be very deep and very dark, but every time I've come through it, I found I've had new abilities that I haven't had before. So it's worth it, but it's not easy.
Absolutely. So for someone who is going through something at the moment, be that with the brain and they want to improve that, or the dark night of the soul, is there something practical that you could leave our listeners and viewers with that they may be able to put into practice straight away to help them take that next step forward?
Really a challenging question because it's so individual, like why they're in it, what the dynamics got them there. I would say one of the most useful things really is to find another point of contact, someone that you can talk to. One of the principles of psycho-emotional medicine is that if two people have the same conflict, they can't decode it because the person who is the practitioner can't see it either. And there's a beauty if someone doesn't have that particular issue, if they can actually see clearly, then there's a process whereby simply asking questions and creating moments of revelation can create a lot of relief. So probably if there was one simple general recommendation, for which there would be many recommendations of the various things that could be done, that finding someone who is sympathetic, often not in your family, because the conflicts that people have are often related to the family.
They are indeed.
So it's best to find a compassionate outside independent source to have a discussion, to create some revelations, and that can create the direction of relief.
Thank you so much. And is there anything that we haven't yet touched? I mean, the time flies, I know that. Is there anything that we haven't touched on, we haven't talked about, that you actually really would love people to know, either about you or about your work or something that's coming forward? Anything you want to say to people who are listening?
Mm. Well, one of the things I'll share tonight is the power of singing together. And there's some beautiful science, actually. My friend Jonathan Golden wrote a book that actually describes the scientifically proven benefits of the simple act of humming. Just humming along actually relaxes your brain, lowers stress cortisol levels, improves vagal tone, enhances the immune system, even increases nitric oxide. So just a simple or humming your favorite tune is beneficial, and that can be made even more powerful if there are unique tones that are a type of code that are sung with precision of intention that can create powerful effects. I had the pleasure of having a video team, a filmmaker named Tzipi Raz from Israel, who also produced the one field that I was in, and she's creating a documentary on the healing power of sound. And because of that, we did a number of experiments and showed that a group of 300 people singing these ancient tones, actually that some say go back to a lost civilization called Lemuria, in a method called pineal toning technique, that we recreated as best we could these ancient patterns, a group of 300 choristers on an island. And what we showed was that just that 3-day musical frequency experience could accelerate a brain from being a middle-aged brain to a 20-year-old superpowered brain in terms of the P300, or so-called awareness processing. So we literally made younger, more efficient brain functionality by being in it. We showed that while there's a controversy about whether water can hold memory, that water in the room that was sent in Faraday cages to a researcher in Tokyo, especially in the infrared spectroscopy of water, that even after 2 weeks, there was a significant residual energetic and structural change in the water in the room that was compared to water not in the room or controlled water from the lab. So we show that literally it can change the structure of water in our bodies to 70% water. So that's incredibly beneficial. We have Dr. Karakov speaking. He has two technologies that we used. One is a Bible technology that uses biophotonic emissions from the fingertips. And as you know, in Chinese medicine, the fingertips have meridians, so they connect to internal organs. So you give assessment of the health and functionality of the internal organs. And what we showed was that uh, every single person that was tested before and after had a significant enhancement of their biofield and their energetic balance. The majority of them showed a doubling of their biofield. And the most interesting thing was that it's a technology called Sputnik. And I'm not even sure how it works, that he hasn't shared that with me, but he believes, and he's a genius quantum physicist, so I believe it, that he can measure the coherence, the quantum coherence of the room. And we did a test at a choir we did in the French Alps in Chamonix, and we showed that people singing together in this way dramatically enhanced the coherence of the room. And with more coherence, people are happier, healthier, more cooperative, and have higher awareness. And my dramatic question, the biggest aspiration for the last choir, now that he has these Sputnik devices around the world, was whether a choir of 300 on an island in the Pacific could literally move the coherence needle for the entire planet. And when he sent the data the next day, when the doors opened, the coherence was increasing, and it increased progressively throughout the day. And a few weeks later, we got together with a filmmaker who provided the data from the room. He said they were exactly parallel, and he reviewed all of the possibilities and felt that the likeliest explanation was that the choir of 300 people changed the coherence of the entire planet. So we're doing another one of these to want to boost the needle higher, and these choirs were done traditionally on winter solstice. We're going to have a winter solstice choir in San Diego and aim to have more people and push the needle even more.
That is incredible. And I'm actually surprised when you mentioned about the water, because I remember studying Masaru Emoto, 20 years ago, where he was looking at the messages in water. Isn't it funny? Science is often back at to and fro with itself. I remember Einstein was spooky action at a distance, where it didn't quite believe in it enough to put some weight behind it. But it's interesting that the things that are just emerging seem to have already been in being, but they were ridiculed first time round, and now they're finding new ground.
Right.
So in closing, what's next for you, and possibly what is even next in terms of the way you see the world, the growth of science, spirituality? What's coming next, you think?
Well, I think the biggest theme is that it's a time of collaboration, because there are many brilliant scientists and researchers and innovators doing things all around the world. And the challenge is that they've tended to work separately. And I believe if we put all the best of everything together, we can create a symphony of all these technologies. So I believe it's a time of collaboration. The more we collaborate and we take the best of everything, the more profound effects we can have, not just on better outcomes for health, but actually enhancing the entire human potential.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to us today. I really appreciate it. Always fascinating. I could talk to you for several hours, and I'm sure we could go many directions. But Dr. Todd, thank you so much for your time today.
Been a great pleasure. Thank you.